Racing games are synonymous with video games as a whole. The thrill and competitive nature that they revolve around are emblematic of everything this medium is about. And the fact that racing games have stuck around even as gaming has changed and grown drastically is a testament to their timeless nature. The 8th console generation is now coming to an end, and it's no surprise that there were a lot of excellent racing games to play over the years on the PS4 and Xbox One. And here, we're going to rank our favorite 15, counting down to what we feel has been the best racing game of the last few years.
WRC9. To say that Kyloton loves its racing cars would be a bit of an understatement, but it's very true, and nowhere is that more apparent than in WRC9. The racing sim lacks the sheen and production values of something like Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo, but for racing game enthusiasts, this game is a dream come true. It boasts excellent driving mechanics and enough content to sink dozens of hours into, and an authenticity the likes of which only true fanatics could manage.
Drive Club. Drive Club is a deeply flawed game, of that there is no doubt, but flaws and all, it's one that no racing fan should miss out on. Because where it matters the most, the game shines more often than not. Tight controls, excellent handling, and excellent audio visuals combine to make it a sublime driving experience. Its excellent visuals, which are still some of the best we've seen in a racing game, are icing on the cake. The Crew 2. The Crew 2 is the open-worldest open-world game out there, and it suffers from plenty of issues that aren't easily ignored. But taken as a whole, its appeal is undeniable. The game gives you a truncated version of the entire United States, and driving from coast to coast is an absolute joy. And driving cars isn't the only thing you can do either. You can drive boats, you can take to the skies with airplanes, drive motorcycles. It's not perfect by any means, but through sheer brute force, it makes sure that no matter what, you'll at least have a good time playing it. Team Sonic Racing. It's rare enough to see a AAA game taking risks, and rarer still to see a racing game do so, which is why Team Sonic Racing feels like such an essential release. Sumo Digital and Sega could have easily rested on their laurels and did more of what they've done with the excellent Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. But with Team Sonic Racing, they decided to fuse the fast and thrilling arcade racing of the series with excellently implemented mechanics that encourage team play over everything else. The result was a game unlike anything else that, despite its issues, is one that shouldn't be missed. Need for Speed Heat. Need for Speed has gone through a bit of a rough patch this generation, to put it mildly, but Ghost Games managed to get the franchise back on track with their final contribution to the series. Need for Speed Heat cares only about the things that any good arcade racing game should care about. It cares about the cars, about driving fast, and about customizing and decking out your growing collection of vehicles. In no way does it break any new ground, and in plenty of ways it's even a bit too rote. But the execution of everything that matters most is top-notch. Wreckfest. In an age where arcade racers have become an endangered species and racing sims are ruling the roost, a game like Wreckfest feels particularly valuable. It is chaotic, it is bombastic, it is fierce, and it is an absolute blast. Literally. Damage and destruction are the name of the game in Wreckfest, and it constantly channels an old-school style of arcade fun that has become increasingly rare in racing games. Project Cars 2. Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport have dominated the racing sim space for a long time now, but halfway through this decade, developer Slightly Mad Studios threw their hat into the ring with Project Cars. It was an admirable debut for the franchise, and a couple of years later the sequel took it to even greater heights. If you're a racing sim enthusiast, Project Cars 2 is like a black hole. With its oodles of content, beautiful visuals, impressive authenticity, and extensive customization, it's a game that you can easily lose dozens upon dozens of hours to. A coat of polish and better AI would have made it better, yes, but even as it is, it's one of the best racing sims we've played this generation. WIPEOUT Omega Collection. There's no shortage of legacy franchises in Sony's first-party back catalog that have been hibernating for too long, but the one that deserves a comeback more than most is WIPEOUT. WIPEOUT Omega Collection isn't technically a new game, but even though it just compiles new remasters of previous releases, it's an excellent argument for why this series needs to come back. The absolute thrill of driving futuristic ships at breakneck speeds is unlike anything else the racing genre has ever been able to produce, with the obvious exception of F-Zero, which too has been slumbering for far too long. And with Omega Collection's touched-up visuals, it feels better than ever before. The fact that you can play it in VR is a deeply appreciated bonus, because boy, does this make an already excellent racer even better. Gran Turismo Sport. Gran Turismo Sport might not have been the Gran Turismo game we all would have wanted at the beginning of this generation, and the game certainly didn't make a stellar reception at launch. But over time, it's evolved into a solid racing sim. With all of its updates, GT Sport now has over 300 cars, over 80 tracks, and even a more traditional single-player campaign, while its core driving mechanics are as solid as you'd hope. Do we want Gran Turismo 7 to be a much more traditional take on the series' formula? Yes, of course we do. But until that arrives, GT Sport has, with the passage of time, proven to be an excellent entry in the series. Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. After remaking the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy, it made sense for Activision to modernize the next best Crash game. The original Crash Team Racing is, to this day, one of the best kart racers ever made, and its remake doesn't let that legacy down. Nitro-Fueled strikes the balance between righteous fun and skill expertly, just as the original game did. And with its campaign, customization, excellent track design, and top-notch driving mechanics, it's also a game with nearly endless replay value. Here's hoping its success leads to another new Crash kart racer, just as the success of Insane Trilogy has led to Crash 4.
Dirt 5. Codemasters are easily one of the most prolific racing developers in the industry right now, and their output across this entire generation has been truly impressive. But Dirt 5 is easily one of the best games they've produced in years. It doubles down on its racing aspects with uncompromising authenticity, and with its excellent controls and excellent track design, it delivers a peerless racing experience.
Forza Motorsport 7. As opposed to its predecessor, which was a pretty significant upgrade over the game it followed from, Forza Motorsport 7 was a very iterative upgrade. But the sum of its improvements made for what is probably one of the best racing simulation games ever made. Forza 7 suffered from some major issues at launch, most of which emerged as a result of its aggressive monetization. But with updates since its release, the game has, by now, ironed out most of those issues. As it stands right now, Forza Motorsport 7 isn't only one of the most visually impressive games on the market, it's also a high watermark that all racing sims should aspire to. F1 2020. F1 2020 isn't exactly the most accessible game you'll ever play. It's a hardcore racing sim fan's dream come true, a game built for enthusiasts through and through. And while that lack of accessibility might turn some people away, it is that crystal clear focus that lets it be as stellar at doing what it does. F1 2020 builds on its strengths of its predecessor in excellent ways, while adding in crucial new improvements and features of its own, such as the new My Team mode. It is brimming with authenticity and has a ridiculous amount of content. F1 2020 is the kind of game that, if you can get into it, you will probably have a very hard time getting back out. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8, and by extension its Deluxe re-release, are a culmination of everything Mario Kart is about. You don't need us to tell you about how the series' trademark brand of chaotic racing strikes the perfect balance between unadulterated fun and an actual skill ceiling, and Mario Kart 8 is the poster boy for that brand of racing. The track design in this game is absolutely genius. The visuals are beautiful. The content in terms of how many tracks, characters, karts, and customizations there are is a high point of the series, and the replay value is limitless. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is easily the best racing game we've played in years, and easily one of the best games in the Switch's impressive library. Forza Horizon 4. It really says something about how good Forza Horizon 4 is and how excellent Playground Games are as developers that what started out as a spin-off of the flagship Forza series has now, arguably, surpassed it. Because let's be totally frank here, Forza Horizon 4 is easily the best Forza game to date. The simple act of driving around its vast, beautiful open world is a hell of a lot of fun. There's an ocean of content to dive into. There's a lot of variety in the things that you can do in the game, and all of it is underpinned by an excellent and ingenious seasons mechanic. It's not only one of the best first-party games on the Xbox One, it is also one of the best first-party games Microsoft has ever made.
And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.